You're about to watch a free clip of Old School. If you like it, wait till you see the whole episode. All the episodes in their entirety are available for members. Become a member by going to tyt.com/join. All right, welcome to Old School. We got a fun Old School today. Aida Kasparian, Aida Rodriguez, Cenk Uygur. I imagine we're gonna have varied topics. So first of all, of course, all Old Schools are sponsored by shoptyt.com, and where you cannot get this shirt. It's an Amplify shirt. It was done in our special Amplify program. The only way to get this again is if we restart the Amplify program. Okay, so I'm just keeping it real. So when we have these special things, you got to jump on it. Okay, when I say it's time to panic, I'm not playing. Okay, and but I see you guys whenever I go out and there's a Sword in the Darkness shirt or an Amplify shirt, etc. I know you guys contributed to those campaigns that made this place possible. So thank you. Goes to all of our members too. tyt.com/join. Okay, so I'm going to start with something disastrous but somewhat funny. So I was just reading upstairs some new developments in the news between our shows. And it turns out, they're all over Ilhan Omar, of course, as we know, and so about our comments about Israel, and so, but Steve King remains in Congress, and now they did strip him of his committee assignments, to be fair, okay, but it was referred to the Ethics Committee, and the Democrats, not the Republicans, the Democrats refused to censure him, okay, so story breaks that Identity Europa has been secretly helping him. That whenever he gets into any kind of issues, like when he said, I don't see what's wrong with white supremacy and white nationalism, they all jump in and they start making calls to Congress saying, we are concerned conservative citizens and we think Steve King represents us. In reality, it's a white nationalist group. Okay, now he's not necessarily coordinating it, but not necessarily, there's no indication that he's coordinating. But white nationalists are so motivated. One of them said, I'm so broke, but I gave him $10 anyway because, man, he does white nationalism proud. But they're a little concerned that he's so over the top, he's gonna get caught. They're like, it's really important for him to stay in Congress, okay? And so don't admit what kind of a white nationalist you are, that obviously, right? But anyway, the guy saying that is, I presume, Identity Europa's leader, Patrick Casey. So where's the funny part? Here's the funny part. Patrick apparently thought his name was not white enough. His name is Patrick Casey, and so he changed it to Reinhard Wolf.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. You might be a white nationalist if you change your name from Patrick Casey, full stop. Okay. You also might know you're a white nationalist if you change your name to Reinhard Wolf. He sounds like he's one of the Bruters.
I'm gonna challenge my comedians on Twitter tonight, and we're gonna come up with a list of you might be a white nationalist. I'm gonna challenge my comics, but
yeah, or to challenge them to come up with a whiter. No, I don't know. It's fair. There's plenty of wonderful Reinhards, I'm sure, in Germany today, right? But I don't know if it's a whiter name than Reinhard Wolf, because arguably Patrick Casey's a whiter name than Reinhard Wolf, right? So a more neo-fascist name than Reinhard Wolf, I don't know.
People are weird, man. Like, life is so short. What are you doing? What are you doing right now with your life? That's what you're doing? You're changing your name to something funny?
Yeah,
like
I know, but so two things about that. First off, yeah, their life sucks. That's why they're going around like, oh, what if I was a character named Reinhard Wolf?
But they're making their life suck more. Like, that's my point, right?
Yeah.
So, like, think about the things in life that make you happy, right? It's friendship, and like, why are you limiting your pool of people that could be your friends? Like, it's socializing, and like, why are you so scared? Like, I don't get the fear. And I want to have a discussion about fear. Like, that's one of the topics.
Oh yeah, sure, I'd love to. Just real quick, my sense of it is, I think that they are looking for community, because probably in their own neck of the woods, there might be ostracized, outcast, because they're bitter and they're overreacting. Like they haven't had a lot of success. Yeah,
toxic.
Well, they haven't had a lot of success. These, you know how many millionaires are in Identity Europa? None. Okay, I'm just guessing. They haven't had a lot of success in their lives, And so they're like, oh yeah, but I'm better than black people, okay? And so they get into that group, and then online they find their community of other people who are bitter that they haven't had success and need to blame it on someone else.
But what about like the Sebastian Gorkas of the world? He's rich, right?
I don't know, but he's prominent enough that money will flow to him. If you're a right winger and you get prominent, all of a sudden money appears on your doorstep. Hey, Sebastian Gorka, the Koch brothers think that you give excellent speeches. Wink. Here's $40,000 a speech. What? Ugh. Right? Hey, Regnery Press thinks you'd be a brilliant author, Sebastian Gorka. Why don't you write a book? Well, I don't know how many people buy it. I mean, only 96 people bought Roger Stone's book. It's not relevant. Don't worry, it'll be a bestseller. Wink. And then we've seen the tricks where they go and buy the books to make it seem like it's a bestseller. It makes it onto the bestseller list, etc. Right?
Yeah, Master P did that with the records. I get it. You know what? When you ask me, like, when you just ask, what are they doing? My therapist says it best: hurt people hurt people.
Oh, that's a good saying.
They do.
I like your therapist.
They do, and so he's like, what he said is like, some people recruit people to gangs, like when you see the people in marginalized groups, and then you see these groups, the all of the gangs throughout the country that are preying on kids that don't have money, and that's their version of that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of toxic masculinity in it as well, like when they're wolf. My name is Wolf, like I'm a bad mother effer, like I could beat, and it's like, no. Cub is what you are. You're a cub.
Yeah. No, cubs are cute though. Like,
but if you were a wolf, you wouldn't have to say you're a wolf.
Yes. Yeah, like Ojeda. Ojeda's a wolf, right? But he doesn't go around telling people he's a wolf. He didn't go around changing his name, right? Like he's just a wolf. Like you can see it. Yeah. You can hear it.
He's got dead people on his back.
He's a fighter.
I don't know that there'll ever be a political commercial better than Ojeda when they challenged his military record. And he's got he says, I got the friends, names of my friends who did not make it back home tattooed on my back.
Yeah.
How dare she?
Yeah.
Carol Miller. Okay, yes, I can't accept that.
I cannot accept that.
He said that today on the Young Turks.
We're gonna get beat up. You're gonna get me beat up because I'm the one that goes out into the road and one of these wolves is gonna show up at my show.
No.
The only thing is I fight back.
Yeah, we were talking to a comic the other day that was on the show, and he's Jewish, and he was down in Alabama doing a show, and the guys came up to him, and they don't know, he's like a redhead and stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, we're part of the Klan, and they're like, look, we even got a card, and they showed they literally card-carrying members of the Klan. And
they got cards?
Apparently they got cards. Who knew that, right? See, for voter ID, I suppose.
Do they get a discount at AAA? Like, what's that card for? Who is that card for?
I oftentimes think about the toxic masculinity group of guys, right? Who are like, what was the name of the white dude who like incited people to go around beating other people up?
Richard Spencer? No. The guy,
Gavin
the Proud
McInnes.
Boys. Gavin McInnes.
That's
Gavin
the Proud
McInnes.
Boy, right?
Proud Boys, yeah.
Yeah, so like the group of men that he attracts, right? Like here's the thing, I'm a woman, so just trust what I have to say more than what Gavin McInnes is telling you, because his advice is not helping you out if you want to look manly. To me, when I see your behavior, I think, oh, he's a little bitch, right? Like, because here's the thing, like nothing is less masculine or manly than a group of guys getting together to bitch about how unfair life is to them, right? Like, that's like, to me, it's just, you're so sad. Like all you do is get together and whine and cry about how unfair it is for you as a white male in America, and you get together in your little group and beat other people up and feel good about yourselves for that. That doesn't, like for women, we look at you guys and think, sad, baby, no interest. I'm not interested in dating you, right? Like no one's interested in. I know it triggers you, but that's my point. That's why I'm trying to help them out, right? Like for the involuntary celibates and all that. Like listen to me. Don't listen to your weird friends. They're not helping you. Like it's okay. Every man's gone through what you've gone through, but getting together in your group of celibates is not gonna make women look at you and be like, oh yeah, that's right. Of course I'm gonna have sex with that guy.
Oh, that guy's really bitter about not getting laid. That's really attractive.
Yeah.
Right, and he's with a bunch of other like people in a pack who are mad at women. Wow, that's hot, right? And so, yeah.
And the people who are having sex with you are scared of you.
Okay, well, luckily there ain't much of them, but because they're involuntarily celibate, so that's part of their problem.
It's the worst name on the planet.
Yeah,
I know.
it's just the dumbest name on the planet because like 99.9% of men at some point were involuntary celibates. It's just part of life, right?
No, that's the other part of like it always comes back to entitlement, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was involuntarily celibate. I never had a sense of entitlement where like, what is going on here? I'm celibate, but I didn't even volunteer for it. Like, no shit, Sherlock. None of us volunteered for it. You know, we're trying to figure out our way in the world, right? Exactly. Yeah. So, but I never like assumed like at the age of 16 or 18 or whatever, like, no, I am owed, women. And so I must get mine, and if I don't, well, obviously there's been a grave injustice.
Okay, let's think about the female version of that, right? Can you imagine a group of angry women who do mass shootings because they're involuntarily unmarried, right? Like, how stupid is that?
Yeah, it makes no sense. They would never do it.
We would never do it because like, I think that we at least sit down and think things through a little more, right? And so, why am I unmarried, right? Like, maybe I need to put myself out there more. Maybe I need to go on more dates. Maybe there's something I need to work on personally that's, serving as some sort of repellent. I don't know, right? Like that's the way I think most women's minds work.
Yeah, but we're not repressed. We're allowed to express ourselves emotionally and are able to say, damn, I'm not married yet without getting judged. But guys can't even admit. I think it has a lot to do with who you surround yourself with. You gotta look at those 5 people around you and say, I gotta get a new crew. Like I'm headed nowhere with these people, like it's really, and listen, when you think you're scaring people, you are scary. You know why? Bruce Lee said it best. There's nothing more dangerous than a man that has nothing to lose. But do you want to be in the category of somebody who has nothing going on in life? Like, I come from an environment like that. That's not cool. People running away from you because you're scary isn't cool. They just think, they don't even look at you like you're gonna produce fruit in life. And that must be horrible,
Yeah. So let me say a couple of things about that. So first, it's much more, I'm guessing, right, in my experience in the world, it's much more attractive for a guy to be fighting for others as opposed to whining about himself.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that kind of elementary?
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right, when you see a guy who stands up for other people, isn't that
super hot? It's super hot. And also, look, think about what attracts women to men, right? So like there's this stereotype that, women only like bad boys, but that's not true. So I think women at a certain age, like when you're a teenager maybe, or like when you're super young, like, ooh, the forbidden fruit, the bad boy. But like we grow up, right? And when we're ready for a real relationship, what do we find attractive? A guy who's smart, right? Like a guy who can make us laugh, a guy that we have a good time with. For some women, like someone who's gonna be a good partner in providing for our family, like whatever. Like those are the things that they look for. It's not about like, that guy has a lot of anger issues and he can beat people up, I'm gonna date him or marry him. Like we're not interested in someone who believes in justice. Like those are hot. Why do you think so many young college women end up dating their professor at some point, right? Like, it's because they're attracted to his intelligence, or maybe also his power, right? He's in a position of power, but also more his intelligence.
So I actually think that there's like one thing gets confused for the other. And I know this from, again, personal experience because I too was involuntarily celibate. and in that time, I'd be honest, but I keep it more real. I was definitely bitter. I was one of those guys who was like, and remember, I was also a Republican back then, so like doubly bitter. But anyway, but I was like, I'm a nice guy, I treat women nice, and like it looks like the bad boys are getting it, and oh my God, he broke my heart. Of course he did. You went out with him because he was an asshole, and now he broke your heart. Duh, right?
Yeah.
So I was that kind of bitterness, right? And And then I was like, you know what? Because I'm a dork, I was like, I'm going to study this. And I'm going to see who is successful and why they are successful. And then perhaps I will copy it. Okay.
I like the voice.
Yes. Because again, back then, I was a Republican. So I always spoke like this. No, I didn't. Okay. Like airborne. Okay.
Hilarious.
No, so I did. I A/B tested.
Yeah.
Okay. And what I realized was, oh, they're not going for the bad boys. The bad boy is, they do sometimes go for bad boys, but not because they're bad boys, but because it's not the common denominator. The common denominator is confidence.
Yes.
Okay, because confidence is a proxy for power.
That's right.
Okay. And so a lot of the bad boys come across as confident because they're like, yeah, hey, whatever, right? Because they're bad boys, whatever, right?
True.
And nice guys sometimes, unfortunately, do come across as more meekish because they're being nice. But those are not the real reasons. The actual reason is confidence, right?
Yeah.
And once I solved that, like everything fell into place. It was like the Matrix, and I'm like, bullets are missing me, right? Right? And so, and then all of a sudden, I was voluntarily getting laid.
Nice.
See?
Boom.
See? So like, don't go to a group of sad guys to whine about how you're not getting laid, because that's not gonna help you. But like, just figure out what it is that, the common denominator. And I think confidence is huge. Like, okay, so I'll share an example. When I first met Christian, he of course was confident and like, let's keep it real, super hot. But
that also helps, by the way.
But like,
I also
okay.
found out being super hot helps.
It does help. But here's the thing, like, here's a stereotype about women, right? Women want a guy with money. But when I met Christian, he was new to LA. He wanted to be an actor, or at least he thought he wanted to be an actor. He doesn't want to pursue that anymore. And so like, let's keep it real, he was broke. Like he had no money. So
yeah, you
like,
already said he was trying to be an actor.
Yeah, I know. So I remember like we're texting each other trying to figure out what our first like meetup is gonna be. And he was like, oh, I haven't gotten paid yet. I have no money. So is it cool if we meet up at the park? And he didn't try to like sugarcoat it or nothing. And I was like, hot, right? Because I don't want to hear any bullshit about, like, I don't want you to pretend like you're something you're not. Like the fact that he was confident enough to just be honest with me and say, I don't have any money, but I want to hang out, so let's go to the park. I loved it. I loved every minute of it, right?
Yeah,
so.
and the world is not filled with like rainbows and sprinkles and stuff and unicorns. So we're not saying it works every time. Like, so I used to tell stories in the post game all the time, and in like when we did Young Turks, that we now refer to as old school, like back on the radio and stuff. And I had a Pontiac Grand Am for a long time, 15 years or whatever it was. And it's because I had no money, and my dad, out of the pity of his heart as usual, bought me a car. And this is when I was a grown ass man. And I'm a struggling talk show host, so I don't have to tell you I'm broke. I was like broker than broke. And so my dad, where he goes, okay, you need car. We go get the car. We walk into the Pontiac dealership. He's like, this one. It's like the one in the middle, right? I'm like, Dad, don't we want to look around? He's like, why? What's wrong with this one? I'm like, I don't know that there's anything wrong with it, but shouldn't we like see some things? He's like, nah, we just buy it. Okay. And he's like, how much? He's like, guys, like, whatever the price was. He goes, okay, I give you 2,000 less. Okay. And it's not that good a deal, but so the guy's like, okay. Right?
So
I'm like, Dad, keep negotiating. He just said okay, right? He's like, why? I got 2,000 less.
I was gonna say, did the girl at the dealership try to get with your dad? He sounds really confident, right?
That's right. Well, my dad is. He is super confident.
I want to meet that guy.
My dad had a both when he was growing up because he was super good looking too. Like I don't know how it misses each one generation,
Stop
but
it.
anyway, so yeah, so we got that Grand Am, and so I would go on dates, and I'd pick up women, and I'd go to their house and pick them up in a Pontiac Grand Am, right? And 8 out of 10 times, people were like, cool. Nobody would comment, or I don't know if they were thinking anything, but no, it's no issue. And I was super confident about it. I was like, yeah, I'm a broke talk show host, but one day, right?
Yeah.
And even if maybe not one day, so what? This is who I am, right? And it was totally fine 8 out of 10. And yeah, 1 out of 10 times, you'd get, I remember this super hot girl, and she was like, I had charmed her and I was laying it on, and I had my A game going on, right? And she's like, okay, yeah, I'll give you my number. And I come by and pick her up in the Grand Am. She's like, wait, like, I think she literally said, this is your car?
Oh my God.
That's so funny. That sounds like a bit. Like I rolled up in the Pontiac Grand Am. And listen, it's not hard going to chill at the park with somebody who's hot.
Oh yeah, that's
You know
true.
what I mean? Like she's like going to a park, but he's hot though.
Yeah, look, I've now calmed down on. I still of course think he's hot, but now I'm like, yeah, like when I first met him, I was like, he's too hot for me. Like I was nervous.
For you?
No.
No.
But like, no, I'm not trying to be cocky. I'm actually being
kidding.
self-deprecating because I remember looking at him and thinking, he's gonna cheat on me, like 100%. He's so good. He would get hit on in front of me all the time by men and women. Like, and I'm like, I can't end up with this guy because he's gonna have affair after affair, and then it turns out he's got like a heart of gold. And like, I don't wanna be a naive woman. Like, I get that sometimes bad things happen, but he's just such a good person and so devoted, and I'm so lucky. But like, all of us have these stereotypes in our heads, right?
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to just quickly mention about money and relationships. So I don't think I've ever shared this story before, and now me and Christian laugh about it all the time. When I first met him, like we were both on the same page. I had gotten out of a long relationship, and I'm like, I want to have fun. Like I just want a hot guy to have fun with, and he didn't want a relationship either. But then like of course, we like each other. Like we get along really well. We have great chemistry. So he always wanted to come over, and like I would try to like kick him out because I didn't want to catch feelings, you know? And he wanted to stay over, and I'm like, okay, and we'd play crossword puzzles together. And before I know it, I'm falling in love with this guy, and I know he's falling in love with me.
Oh, no.
Always get
The
'em.
minute you said crossword puzzles, I was
It's
like,
a
done.
wrap.
Done. Okay, it's a wrap. I love that. It's a wrap.
You know
Let's
what's
wrap this
funny?
up.
When I saw him, I was like, he cheats on Anna.
Right?
And then I had one conversation with him, and I met his mother, and I was like, this girl won.
Yeah, I did. I got so lucky.
But
lucky.
I thought you cheated on him too. Until
No.
I was like, this is some Hollywood. This looks like Armenian, Cuban, Barbie, and Ken right here. Like, this is not real.
No.
And then you have a conversation with both of them, and I'm like, oh, they have substance.
Yeah,
They do
yeah.
crossword puzzles.
We
together.
They do crossword. But I'll tell you, my son went to Campbell Hall, and I had a Diamante. Not necessarily a Pontiac Grand Am because I wasn't balling then, but I had a Diamante that apparently had hydraulics at some point. And my son went to Campbell Hall where Magic Johnson's son was pulling up in a Range Rover. Kids were pulling up in Bentleys. And I was pulling up in the Diamante, and I would say, hey, Omar, do you want me to pick you up outside? He was like, no, you roll up right into the middle of that piece and you pick me up. I'm prouder than you than anybody. And every girl loved my son. And he was like, that mom, get out the car. Get out the car. That's my mom. She's a stand-up comedian. He's never, now my daughter would be like, the 2 blocks down. That's where you pick me up around. It's harder for girls, you know? But he's always, even now, like, if you go to my Instagram page, every picture is like, this is the most beautiful woman in the world. My son has never been embarrassed about, you know, even when I was broke and on food stamps, and I'd go to the grocery store, he'd be like, you want me to slide the card for you? Give it to me.
Oh, your son's the best.
Omar, here come Omar.
Omar. And it was all a game. He was getting all the girl. I remember calling him when he was a freshman in college, and I said, Omar, what's going on? I just got your grades. He said, can I be honest with you, Mom? He said, I'm having so much sex, I can't focus.
Oh my God.
I hung up the phone on him. I was like, call me back when you get some sense about you. This is your mother. He was like, you my best girl. I gotta tell you. He's like, I promise I'll get it back together second semester. He said, but first semester, your boy is winning. Like, I just remember him saying that, and I was like,
Did he ever get tired of winning?
but it was just,
Your boy is winning.
Yeah, he was just like, and then I went to Arizona and did a comedy show. He brought all his friends. He was like, can I get a guest list? He was like, keep doing what you're doing, girl. It's, like I'm with, and it's so funny because he's never, ever been ashamed of our situation. And girls have always just flooded to O. And it's so funny because he's like, he's confident.
I got to tell you, look, that A/B testing worked for me because, and it wasn't like I figured out comments, but I figured out a couple other things. Like, I mean, it's so elementary looking back at it. I was like, turns out girls like a sense of humor, right? Because I realized like some guy was a friend of mine. I told the story before. He's like playing around with a pen and making girls laugh, and I'm like, is it the pen? No, it's not the pen, right? Like, I'm like, because I swear, like I literally said, because I got, I was an honor student and I had good grades and stuff. That's why I challenged Trump today, right?
I saw that.
Yeah. So, and I was like, well, if I can figure out calculus, I got to be able to figure out how to get laid, right? Otherwise, I'm not that smart. You see what I'm saying? I got to apply myself to the most important thing in the world. I mean, calculus.
Jake was like, I'm gonna use this pen for a crossword puzzle.
So, and the more confidence you get, the more charming you get, right? It's a virtuous cycle, right? And so, I mean, as you were talking about, like, hey, to go to a park with a hot guy, it's not, dude. When a 250-pound guy rolls in on a Pontiac Grand Am and you still go out on that date, he's got to be a little charming.
You got to have some game.
Yeah.
But women are attracted. I've studied so many, because my ex played football and I watched all the women and I started chronicling because I wanted to write this book about gold diggers. But I tell you, women are attracted to men who have vision. So because vision is what, like somebody who meets you and has a conversation with you, just like you had that conversation with Christian, that person's situation is temporary because you're like, this person is going somewhere. Look at Donald Trump's kids. If those boys didn't have money and privilege, they'd be cleaning up at a zoo.
What do they have? Like they're not charming. They're not smart. They're not good looking. Like what's left?
They don't have to develop those muscles and those skills, the people skills. They don't have vision for themselves. Everything that they have. So when women see a man, you can talk to somebody and know he may not have money, but this is not going to always be the situation. This man is going somewhere. He's got passion about something. He has vision. And there's nothing more attractive to a woman than that.
Yeah, totally. And also, I think when you're not handed things, right? Like it does force you to work on, like, let's say you're not the most attractive person or you don't have money. Like it forces you to work on yourself and improve yourself in ways that I think others who are either, born with good genes or born into a rich family don't even think to work on. Like they don't need to exercise that muscle because they just don't.
Yeah, no. And it didn't come easy for me, but you could either cry about it or you could do something about it, right? And the crying doesn't do you any good. I know, I tried it for a couple of years because that was my first A/B test. I was like, okay, I'm gonna cry for a couple of years, see how it turns out. And I'm like, no, that didn't work. That definitely didn't work. But I mean, like there's that great scene in Silicon Valley where one of these guys, one of the investors walks in and sees the tall, lanky guy and goes, this guy right? And right? And so to your guys' point about like you saw Christian, you're like, this guy cheats, right? Because he looks too good not to cheat, right? Yeah. Nobody's ever come up to me and said, this guy cheats. Right, so
no, they do it on Twitter. No.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other thing. But so look, you wish you got a good body. You wish you're like you're tall and handsome and had more money, etc. We all wish for 1,000 things, man. Ironically, especially if you're like the conservative incels and stuff like that, pick yourself up by the bootstraps. And this is actually something you can do because you don't need to be rich. I get that it helps. I get it. All that stuff helps and makes it easier. But you guys are also right. Like I wouldn't want to be put in a tough spot. Like I wouldn't ask for that, and I didn't ask for this body. Okay, but it does. Like if you can get past it, it does bring your game up.
Yeah.
Right. Because your game's got to be better.
We also all come from immigrants that we've seen make it happen. You know, you've seen, that's why vision is so attractive. So I don't know, I'm looking at it from a perspective of, I know that through hard work and determination and perseverance that great things are possible. So you're gonna look for that. But the other thing is that women are not not as visually driven as men. We look for, when you see someone who's confident, you like, that's where swag came from. Remember, swag became the word. It's like, oh, he's got swag. Like, and
I mean, Heidi Klum married Seal. Like, let's keep it real.
And he cheated.
I know, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, no, he's famous. Come on, he's famous and wealthy.
But still, there are a lot of other people who are famous and don't look like Seal. You know, he proposed in an igloo. He flew her to the ice and gave her ice on the ice.
Yeah,
wow.
That's game.
Yeah, but any guy that's got that kind of money, he cheats. That guy cheats.
That guy.
Yeah. All right, YouTube audience, we got to let you go. Podcast guys, stay right here. Of course, Young Turks members get the whole old school. I got a friend who changed his name. That's a really funny story. Keith Ablow is going to come into play here in a second. tyt.com/join to become a member. tyt.com/trial to try it out free for a week and you can go through old school archives if you want. On the go, you can still listen to TYT on our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or tyt.com/podcast. I'll see you there.